a major rehabilitation of that road.
By June 11, 2021, the 9th House of Representatives will rule out its scorecard as it marks 2 years of providing legislative direction and oversight in the activities of government in line with constitutional mandate. Lami Ali, NTA News.
Thank you, Lami, for that report. And of course, Ignatius Ukwa, before that, both reports focused on the National Assembly. Let's start our discussion with our guests in the News 24 studio. I'll start with Professor Tairu Maman, SAN. Prof, now looking at the 22 years so far of Nigeria's Fourth Republic, the discussions and conversations we've had over the last two reports have been about synergy in some cases, fractious relationship between some of the arms of government in other instances. What will be your assessment of the Fourth Republic in terms of checks and balances and the relationship between, the three arms of government?
Thank you very much. Well, as expected, when you have a legislature which is populated by the same party, by the executive, the level of relationship and collaboration will be different as to when the legislature is controlled by a different party. Now, that isn't to say the legislature is going to be a rubber stamp. No, because these are the same bodies which are driven by an ideology, by a program of the party in power. So because of that, there will be greater understanding of each other and working towards the same goal. However, because they are also reporting to some constituencies, and they also have their own goals as to how they want to assess their own achievements. There will, from time to time, be some tension in the relationship between the executive and the legislature. And of course, you also have the assessment of the public. The public will want to will view the legislature as not asserting its position the way it is expected in a situation where it is controlled by a different party. But overall, by and large, this particular legislature has been quite effective, in my view, in supporting the government, the executive, and in cases where it has to assert its authority and responsibilities, do so. And to that extent, I feel it has been a fairly balanced relationship overall.
You and I go straight to Engineer Kashim Ali, MNI. In terms of deliverables, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of realizing the objectives of this government, has this synergy led to, perhaps achieving more?
Actually, if I look at the perception, the result will be in the negative. But I have access to data. For instance, the Nigerian Center of Engineers has what they call the infrastructure scorecard. And every now and then, there's an update of this. Before I came in, I realized I could be asked this question, and I asked them, what is the status now? Where are we going? Are we going down or are we going up? And they say we are going up. It's slightly going up. We are going up slightly, and that there are a lot of projects that are in incubation. So if I look at it from that perspective, I think the synergy has worked, but certainly a lot still needs to be done because the perception is totally at variance with the reality, and people need to be carried along. If the perception of the people is not so positive, no matter how much work you've done, that is what will be the general accepted result.
Very much for that intervention. My guests right here in the studio are just chomping at the bit to give us a bit of, their perception. We've just beyond these past 6 years, May 29, of course, comes to mind that from 1999 till date. When you look at it, are we maturing politically, especially when you look at the relationships that we've had over the past years between the executive and the, legislature for national development? Let me start from you.
Well, we have to divest ourselves from the notion of perception. Perception simply is an opinion developed by a person or a group of persons given a particular index or a template. The practical reality when we look at it is that the essence of the Constitution having separation of powers as per the provisions of sections 4, 5, and 6 of the Constitution is clearly to accelerate development in the interest of the citizenry, going by the definition of the democracy as government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And if you chronicle the compendium of achievements recorded so far, especially taking the last 2 years into account, I have a compendium of 10,000 unprecedented achievements. So by the time, even though time will not permit us to talk about the details of these 10,000 achievements, I would be able to recall some of the giant strides that we have seen. For example, if you take, for example, the East-West Road, which has been in the design level for about 30 years, it is now progressing, and most likely next year it will be completed. It's an achievement. If you take, for example, the Port Harcourt down to Maiduguri rail gauge, which has been in comatose for long, it has been reactivated. The government efforts currently to try to revive the Ajaokuta steel industry is another thing. If you take, for example, the Wari to Itape rail line is another giant stride. The Maradi to Kano rail line, the Abuja down to Kano rail line, which is the second phase which is coming from the beginning of the Lagos down to Ibadan, down to Abuja, for example. No nation can succeed without revamping of rail infrastructure. And that is the reason why we are having a company established by this government in Abeokuta, trying to be manufacturing the rail components in Nigeria here. And we have succeeded in reviving the production of...
Church also appeal to those who are removing the ones that are just being laid at the moment.
Yes, that one is another. That is just one aspect. If you take, for example, the air component, designating 4 airports as central economic zones, talking about the Lagos, Port Harcourt, the Kano, and the Abuja airports. The construction of 2 runways, brand new ones for Abuja and Enugu airports. The rehabilitation with the installation of modern day aircraft, airport components, in order to be able to have our airports classified as one of the best in the world is another achievement. If you take, for example, the education...
Are you meaning to list the 10,000 now? Let me just quickly make a dash
to touch different components of the national development.
Go ahead.
Probably, yes. Then take another instance, for example, take in the area of agreements with the international community. The agreement Nigeria is having with Cameroon, for example, regarding gas exploration. It will go a long way in graduating Nigeria from oil-producing country to a giant gas-producing country to be reckoned in the world. We have been losing billions of dollars as a result of gas flaring in the country. And now we are on it. We have already set, the president has already done the groundbreaking ceremony of the Ajaokuta down to Kaduna, probably out to Kano, the pipeline track for gas. This is another important achievement. And then 2 major industries of world standing in Bayelsa State and in Imo States are underway already. The contract has been signed. They are already on it towards the improvement of gas supply and establishment of industries that will be producing chemicals and other components that will solve our fertilizer need, which will go a long way in bankrolling agricultural revolution for the country. And I don't
want to marginalize the women because I may soon be getting some tweets. Very quickly, of course, let me again welcome Madam Enede, Development Program Strategist. You want to lend your voice to some of, the observations made already. How would you describe our political terrain at the moment? Are we maturing politically? Is there, in terms of, even the cooperation between the arms of government to make sure that promises are kept? What was a concept becomes an actuality?
Yeah, it's quite exciting to hear different perspectives, and I'm glad to lend my voice as a development strategist, particularly because I'm opportune to discuss with a lot of people, to relate with a number of people, and listen to a number of programs. So I hear what a lot of people say. I listened to the Senate President very well and the Speaker of the House of Representatives, and he said right from the onset they were determined to work in synergy. I like that. Somebody might say, okay, you want to work in synergy. If you are an oversight institution, oversighting the kind of critical role you play in democracy, the assembly is the pillar of democracy. It means from time to time there is a possibility that the executive or the judiciary might not be so comfortable with you, or your constituents, or even those who also oversight you, like the civil society and other non-state actors. So I'm quite excited, and so far we had opportunity, particularly women groups, we had the opportunity to engage other citizens. But from where we stand, a lot of people have, when I say our constituency, because we hold, especially media, belong to media and civil society. There are complaints here and there that the engagement would have been more robust. Like the National Assembly has set out to have an open government, but they said the National Assembly is not as open as it should have been in terms of bringing civil society and other non-state actors to the arena where conversations are held.
After the representative of the people.
Exactly.
Okay, we will still come back to that.
Okay.
Someone else is joining us as well. Let's welcome Professor Shehu Alhaji Musa from our Kano Network Center. He's the Vice Chancellor, Kano University of Science and Technology, WUDIL. Thank you for joining us on the program. Let's just go straight to our question for you, because, of course, you are the Vice Chancellor of University of Science and Technology. In terms of infrastructure and perhaps improving domestic competence in a manufacturing sector, what do we need to do more, and what are we doing right that we can continue to do to move the conversation to a better level? Prof, are you on to us now, sir? All right, while we're trying to get the audio right, the Vice Chancellor, University of Science and Technology, standing by from our Kano Network Center. We'll try and get him and make sure he makes his intervention. But while we wait for that, let's perhaps put in some more questions in terms of another aspect of what we're talking about, and to improve on the living conditions of Nigerians. The administration of President Muhammadu Buhari has over the years laid emphasis on food production, infrastructure development, with several social interventions aimed at lifting the vulnerable out of poverty. Caleb Gochin brings us a situation report from Plateau State.
Agricultural production and food sufficiency remain the most important components for the survival of any nation. This must have formed the basis for the decision of the federal government to ban the importation of food that can be produced locally in order to boost local production. With growing population and the need to broaden and improve the capacity of the farmers, the government introduced different interventions under the Agriculture Transformation Agenda support which is yielding results.
The state government and the federal government have made several efforts to ensure that people within the state are properly guided, properly equipped, and properly supported to ensure that food becomes very vital. Our farmers on the plateau are getting 4 tons to 5 tons per hectare, which is also very, very encouraging.
By the time the private sector comes in, they'll be able to create more job opportunities, they'll be able to produce more food, and then we'll also be able to create income in the hands of those who are going to participate in agriculture.
Similarly, infrastructural development cannot be downplayed if a nation is to be seen to be moving forward, hence the attention being accorded this sector by the federal government. The impact can be felt in different parts of the state, like the 43-kilometer Pangshin, Balang, Nyeleng, Sara, Lere, Gindri Road, as well as the 44-kilometer Baban-Lamba to Sharam Road, which when completed will serve the people of Nasarawa, Gombe, Kaduna and Adamawa states.
It has also offered so many employment to the people of the community.
Many communities now boast of solar-powered and motorized boreholes. And to meet the housing deficit in the country, the federal government is providing 40-bedroom flats each in Plateau and Bauchi states.
We have water. Each unit has been connected already.
When you are able to provide shelter for yourself, you've almost done with 50% of your life aspect.
The inland dry port is also a significant step taken to stimulate the economy.
To create a lot of employment, like the one, especially the one you are here in Haipang, which is for Plateau, which represent the North Central Zone. It will create more than 20,000 workers, once it's commissioned and completed.
On the federal government social investment program, 26,000 households are beneficiaries in Plateau State.
I started my business before, like as in my family and friend. They support me with a small capital. I started the business. Then after that, I received the COVID-19 support from federal government. So I continue using the money to boost my business.
I'd love to appreciate, the federal government for this intervention, most especially in these trying times of COVID-19, which a lot of businesses were not able to thrive. But through this intervention, it keeps our business lively and it keeps thriving.
Citizens reciprocate in terms of having confidence in government, in terms of believing in the program, in terms of participating and accepting the program.
As more programs are being unveiled, it is the prayer of all that the challenges bedeviling the polity will soon be over, giving way to a more prosperous nation. In Jos, Caleb Gochin, NTA News.
Many thanks to Caleb for that report. We'll go to the News 24 studio. You saw a few of some of those projects in some of the reports we've taken, talking about engineer Kashim Ali, MNI. Being, a past president of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, first we'll talk about the issue of domestic, competence in, some of these sectors, especially manufacturing. That's one part of, my question to you. The second part is our maintenance culture. You have infrastructure provided, and then maintaining this infrastructure, in some cases, one would expect some of those, communities to take ownership. But we've seen a trend of people actually even, disrupting the process, even physically cutting away gravel, in some cases, rail, joinings and the track, the steel on the track and all that. What will you say to this, especially as, an engineer and, in terms of, the concept of development and then the social contract between the leaders and the led? One, infrastructure has been provided, and then we see situations like this.
Which it still takes me back to the issue of perception. Look, in this world, the most critical index for judgment is perception, whether we like it or not. Now, when people believe something belongs to them, they take care of such things. When they don't believe it's theirs, they ignore them. I like the way the water issue. Let me start from the water. Water coverage before this administration came in was at the level of less than 50%. Today, it has gone up to 71%. And the reason is a style was introduced. Public water supply infrastructure were handed over to the communities, beneficiary communities. They were made to feel from the beginning that the project was all about them, and that when it is finished, it is their property and for them to use and maintain. And that has worked. So they accepted, and that is why you have that growth. Even open defecation. We had only one local government in Cross Rivers, I think, that was open defecation free in Nigeria out of 774. Today, we have 57. Again, it's because people were made to appreciate that keeping your environment clean was not, the government was not the one suffering for those actions, but the individuals, and they accepted. So there's always the need to carry people along and carry them along effectively well. For instance, I've seen the video, a viral video, where there was a surface dressing and people were removing the granite that was on it. The thing is, there was no public education. For instance, if they have not had a road in that area for centuries, those children who were removing, they did not know that roads should have loose gravels, because maybe what they see in the city are asphalt-based roads, which have no gravels flying. So maybe when they saw them, and they saw that maybe they could have accident on them, they started picking them. It could start from good intention, ignorance, and people will now magnify to whatever level it got to. Nobody has really gone there to see why they did what they did. It's not like they don't like the road, but they have no information, and nobody bothered to carry them along. That is my opinion.
Rail tracks.
Even the issue of the cutting away of railway track, again, that one is it as pure wickedness. And I think the security should be able to investigate and find out what really happened. Because the equipment you need to cut that material, it also has to be a bit sophisticated. Common saw will not do that. So it means somebody went there intentional to do that. Having said that, what are the general trend in Nigeria? Do we have human resources? We do have them. Some in incubation, but a lot also that are also up and being available for use. But are we using them effectively? No. And the reason I say this authoritatively is because we have seen migration of these individuals. Some people have migrated and they have become useful to other communities and other societies. And because if you look at the science and technology-based institutions around the world, anywhere you go to where they are doing serious engineering and technology work, they don't have Nigerians. That means that place is not developing yet. So that if we can be so useful abroad, why can't we be useful at home? But we have chosen to do the way we do things, and if we change our policy, and that can be sectoral, because I can assure you, I've told you about the water sector, what has been done, and there's a growth in that place. If you do that in the rail sector, in road sector, and power sector, you get results also that will grow our economy and grow our nation.
So let me just take you from there, because since we are talking to engineers and people in the technology space, I just quickly go to Kano, and Professor Shiwalaji Musa is the Vice Chancellor, Kano University of Science and Technology, Wudil. Prof can hear us now, I think. So let's start our own conversation from the point of competence. For instance, the students we are churning out to, be in some of these sectors. In terms of competence, are we still there in terms of, the quality of students coming out from that sector, especially to feed our technology sector, to feed manpower in these areas, especially now that we're seeing massive growth in the rail sector? We'll be expecting students, especially from schools like yours, to begin to migrate into that direction. What is the situation now? Is there some enthusiasm building in your sector?
Thank you very much. Let me start by saying it's my pleasure to be on this program, which is Democracy on the Move of the NTA program. Let me also wish all Nigerians happy Democracy Day. And let me also wish all Nigerians and the Black nation of the 22-year democratic journey for our country. It has been a remarkable one. Yes, there are challenges, but overall, by and large, I think the successes outweigh the number of challenges that we actually face. It's also congratulations to the leaders of our country, and congratulations to all actors, congratulations to all Nigerians. Having said this, let me also move straight to attempt to answer your question. Yes, the graduate of our universities, certainly there are a lot of improvements now, and if you remember, the universities are now moving up in terms of improving the quality of our educational system. Our engineers, our environmental scientists, agricultural scientists, all other graduate of Nigerian universities, I believe there are now better opportunities in terms of training, in terms of quality. We need to remember that TETFAN has done a lot of support to universities, and the state government as well has also done a lot of supports, and also there are other international interventions that have all gone to support all this. And you also remember that there are, from time to time, review of our curriculum to ensure that the graduate of universities are measuring up to that level. Sometimes, I think, as the engineer have rightly said, sometimes perception matters in our own circumstance. Sometimes we don't see good in ourselves, but we could see good in other product that is not even as standards as ours. Despite the fact that yes, there are rooms to improve the quality of our training, which is the same thing with all over the countries in the world. Because if the training are static, it simply means that our relevance to the society will be limited. So overall, I can assure you that the universities are doing their best in terms of producing additional quality manpower. I'm only going to give you one example. With my university, recently students of architecture have participated in an international competition in Georgia and the United States of America, and they become third all over the world. So with this, I believe that these graduates can measure up to any other graduate in many other countries of the world. Yes, there may be a need for improvement, and we agree that there are rooms for improvement, and I believe that the Nigerian graduates are doing their own best. Up to now, the graduate of Nigeria, you still see that even in the foreign countries, a number of them have been directly engaged to do their masters and PhD without even remedial programs. And I believe this speaks about the quality that we are producing. But like I said, let me not be misinterpreted to mean that it is uhuru and everything is okay. No, there are rooms that we can improve, and I can assure you that the IT is given the latitude for universities to improve on the capacity, the capability of the Nigerian graduates. And this is not something that we can achieve overnight, but it's something that is gradual, and I believe, I'm happy to say that gradually we are moving toward excellence in terms of producing well-rounded academic graduates that have very good moral training that will be for the benefit of our society.
Prof, because, let me stay with you just to take this follow-up. Are you tailoring your research and your activities within the school to solving problems directly in society, like we've had those theories of perhaps a little bit of valley of death between the town and the gown, meaning society and research institutions and tertiary institutions. Have you having collaboration, especially with manufacturers in Nigeria and companies, so that students begin to tailor their research, their efforts to solving these problems, and then job creation becomes easily accelerated? Job creation.
That's right. For Kano University of Science and Technology, I can assure you we are doing that, and I believe many other universities are doing that. For example, Kano University of Science and Technology have had a data of all the industries in Kano, and we're organizing what we call university industry linkage, and we're taking a whole week to showcase the innovations and technologies that have so far been developed by the university, and the industries on their own hand should be ready to now tell us that this is the type of training that we really require at the moment. I can assure you this is part of the 20th year anniversary celebrations of the university. We have contacted all of them. We have sent letters to them. So far, about 26 have indicated their willingness to partner with the university in terms of their quality assurance units and in terms of the manpower development of their respective industries. So we know certainly that if you are producing graduates that are not measuring up to the industries, you are only increasing the burden of the society. And let me give you, typically in the area of agriculture, we are tailoring all our researches that will be for the direct benefit of the society. For example, we have now introduced the concept of Irish potato farming in Kano, which in the past, people have the peelings that is only in the plateau that you can be able to produce Irish potato. This technology is ready for uptake by farmers around Kano and other neighboring states. And by way of also showcasing that the universities are currently engaged in doing a lot of work that support science, technology, and innovation. During the COVID-19 pandemic, if you move around some of the Nigerian airports, most of the solar-powered thermometers that have been used to measure temperature is being produced by Kano University of Science and Technology. We have also produced, solar infrared temperature measuring device, solar infrared, sanitizing machine. We have also, in the technical and vocational education, we have produced a lot of posters, a lot of machines, big posters.
Thank you, Prof. I know you agree with me that you are also due to pay NTA some bills because you've done some adverts for that college at this time. But we will allow you. We'll allow you. Let's quickly go to News 24 studio very quickly. And VC of Base University, Professor Tyler Rahman is here. We have to look at the issue of the rule of law. And while you are here, in the past 22 years, how have we done that in terms of the observance of the rule of law, helping those processes grow, especially our pre- and post-election phases? What will be your comment on that?
Once more, adherence to the rule of law has been obviously a mixed bag. There are so many players out there. There are many institutions involved, from the courts, from the legislature, security, organs of the executive, and those who deliver services on a day-to-day basis. So by and large, the major concern has been with regards to the attitude and conduct of the political class in ensuring that the agenda of democracy is developed and moves on a proper trajectory. And in particular, how political parties organize themselves and organize their primaries, which will ensure that appropriate candidates emerge from their primaries. And then the electoral system too, where those who have responsibility to run elections, if they have been fair and free in their conduct, in the conduct of the elections, and if they've been receiving appropriate support. And overall, the trajectory has been actually progressive because over time, the electoral laws have been improved upon, and the framework for competition has been improved upon, but we still see situations where, some element of self-help, has been coming in. And we also, over time, the attitude of the security agencies have been a bit problematic during elections, but I must state that in the last 6 years, I think there has been some remarkable improvement, partly because the present government, the government of President Muhammad Buhari, has been a stickler to ensuring that the rules are followed. And remember when he came on board, people had their fears on whether he was going to, be able to adjust to the tenets of democracy. And I believe he surprised a lot of people, the way he changed, the way he approached democracy, because he allowed institutions to flourish the way they should flourish, even his own party. He never tried to intervene to, in situations where ordinarily, a president will support, will not support opposition. But he always said, look, the electorate should be the final arbiter. And you remember in 2019 elections, after his own election, he was very clear that the electorate should be able to decide who they wish to support. And along the line, the APC lost quite a number of states, which ordinarily, if it were in the past, it would have muzzled itself into success. And where judgments were passed or delivered against the party, the president always, congratulated the winner, irrespective of the party. So by and large, we've been in the right trajectory in terms of the processes. And for what has been said here in terms of the substantive goals of democracy, yes, this one is a major journey. It's a major journey where along the road, along the way, you have different players. So it is for each level of government to perform its role, local government, states, and the federal government, to ensure that the substantive purposes of democracy are achieved, which is to provide services to society and the community, to bring development to the community. Because it has been rightly said that democracy and poverty cannot be in the same, cannot cohabit in the same bed. So if there's poverty around, that's a major threat to our democracy. And we've seen that the federal government had so many areas of intervention to bring succor, to bring relief to the common man, which is actually implementing one of the chapters of the Constitution, which is the chapter on fundamental objectives and directive principles of state policy, the provision of welfare being the goals of government. And so the government, through all those interventions, which my Nasara mentioned some of them earlier, which are already in the public domain, are intended to address some of these things: infrastructure, social intervention on a very massive scale that we have seen. It may be that it is not very obvious and very impactful at this time, because the level of poverty had actually reached a very high level before this government came in. But it's already beginning to show face that these interventions are making some difference in the communities, in the areas of agri, in the areas of, especially in the areas of agri, and then the individual support to the communities, and then even small-scale industries which have had access to a whole range of interventions through the central bank and other development initiatives introduced by this government. So by and large, overall, I think we are on the right trajectory. It's a question of, and of course, part of the problem is our democracy at the moment, or governments are limited to a particular term. In this case, 8 years maximum. So each government must continue from where the other stopped. And so where there's a reversal, that's going to be a problem. But with what we have on the ground, I believe so much is likely to be achieved in the next 2 years, and we hope that there will be continuity in these programs in such a way that we'll be able to achieve the substantive goals of our democracy and constitutionalism.
The slogan is no woman, no nation. I'm sure still that. And when you look at, women folk and, developments we've had in the past 6 years, what are the pathways to some of the, conversations you've had in terms of more inclusion and all that? What would be your comment on that at this time?
Perhaps let me quickly go back to what engineer said earlier concerning water. We can take it from there. Talking about public infrastructure and the attitude of citizens towards public infrastructure. One of the reasons he gave was that sometimes you don't have sufficient consultation. He had advocated that they should be carried along. And if you look at it from that perspective, before we come to political participation of women and representation in public life, one of the key areas in that, in particular, water, in order to avoid water stress, is particularly important to have in the project cycle. There is a need for consultation, and that consultation should be based on needs assessment. It's when you have the needs, you know the needs of the people, and you cite a project and you have consulted with them, that it is easier to protect. I know there is a need for us to elevate our level of credibility and patriotism to be able to protect public infrastructure, because either way, we the ordinary people are the losers, because those in government have ways of working around their own infrastructure. So it's absolutely important to consult. And for public infrastructure, are those infrastructure inclusive, sensitive to disability, and that? Does it give persons with disabilities access? Some of those in the deprivation may not be intended, but because of insufficient consultation, it's possible that those that are sympathetic to the cause of persons with disabilities will now be angry and want to destroy those public infrastructure. I'm not saying it's a right thing, but these are some of the reasons they give. And for example, too, we talk about rape and all that. If an infrastructure is situated around a rapist, a known rapist, and if he has political power, and women, girls are not able to access such infrastructure, it becomes problematic. And as a result of that, that could ignite certain kind of danger and anger. So it's absolutely important to have good consultation that is based on needs, as well as also get the people to be sufficiently conscientized to say, look, this is for you, and they can protect. Nobody that is sufficiently convinced that will not want to protect his or her own property. Then let me come back to representation. You see, all the questions we've been asking. I want you to look at the Federal Executive Council, 42 ministers. How many are women? 6. And not just the 6 women. Part of the challenge we have with that, too, a lot of people are concerned that, what if we have an even representation? Do you have women from the Middle Belt, from different geopolitical zones? Like if you look at the executive, the Federal Executive Council, there is no woman from the south, from the southwest. So for us, it means so much, because that symbolism is very important. Even if you look at also the Federal Executive Council and some other bodies, the MDAs, you notice that you don't have a single woman with disabilities. And those of us who believe in integrity, dignity of the human person, you know that that representation is very important. How things happen in this country. If we are worried about federal character, then there should be that component of gender inclusion and diversity in federal character. not just a generalized federal character.
Just based on
It should be sensitive. And you know, women, we are asking for 111 extra seats. I was asking the professor earlier, and I was quite excited. In the House of Representatives and the Senate, as well as in the, yes, 111 in the two chambers. It doesn't look like you believe it because you are smiling.
No, I'm not smiling. I'm not. The smile is not patronizing.
Okay. You are wondering how.
Have you, this has to do with consultation with all the political parties.
We've done consultations.
With all the political parties.
Yeah, and the consultation is still ongoing. But the issue here too is that have we not come too far in terms of asking? And what we're asking is just minimum and just very legitimate. So I'm wondering how long you want us to be able to be advocating. Like the 12 centers receive memoranda from different women groups. Hey, look, this is what is good for Nigeria. It is harmless. I know that a number of people, initially I was a little bit apprehensive because I believe in reality. I was wondering, well, is that not going to overbloat the already bloated governance structures? But we looked at it, okay, is it not because it has come to women now you are looking at it, then what other ways can you do? How can you now restructure to be able to bring in women? You hear about restructure from south, west, east, middle belt and everywhere. Then why won't you also think about restructuring to bring in more women? Because it's good for all of us. It's
the other girl that is laughing, actually not me. And I need.
Yeah, I know too. He will believe in it because it's something that will bring peace for us. It will address insecurity because my heart is always broken when there is a little protest. The way security agents and those who are protesting meet. Once they meet, there's always a depreciation, diminishing of public infrastructure. So anything that will bring about peace, security, as well as stability and development, why won't you go for it? And this is one of it. So women are not asking for too much. Representation, not just that you just put us as a cosmetic approach. We want to have substantial input to whatever is happening. And it's not that it's just good for us, it's good for the country. Even at the level of security, look at all the security structures that have been put in place. You notice that we are still talking about putting women in different structures that will be able to bring peace, mediation, peace and security. That is not even an elective position. We don't need to be struggling. We need to be in the assembly. We need to be in the local government structure. We need to be in different panels. You have seen that there are panels they set up. At the end, they just fight and everything scatters. If women are there as we are here at the table, will I allow, if for any strange reasons there is disagreement between you and my brother here, you think I will allow it? No. I won't allow it to escalate. So I want us to look at that. Yes, naturally. We bring. Not
necessarily because.
No, we just need it.
All right, let me quickly.
It's legitimate.
Let me bring, Mr. Kogo in very quickly. 6 years, yes. And then this point now we are in this. We are moving now into the second half of the second half, yes. If we put it that way. What are we to expect as we enter the home run of this administration?
Well, I'm glad we are getting more enthusiasm towards the zest for citizens' engagement. Even though constitutionally speaking, Section 21 talks about the evolution of our culture. Our culture to be all-inclusive in whatever the government is doing. It is our responsibility to support the governance in all spectra. For example, the issue of the national ethics, that is there in Section 23 of the Constitution. The national ethics for us to have dignity, respect for womanhood, respect for labor, respect for constituted authorities. And the same Constitution in Section 24 imposes duty. If you realize the ethics, then it is your responsibility to partake in the governance. All this hue and cries being done, issue of marginalization, issue of this, issue of this. The problem we have simply is there is a disconnect between the actual theories we have assembled as our Constitution and the practical reality of those in power. For example, if you take the compendium provisions of Section 16, 14, subsection 3, Section 15, Section 16, Section 17, particularly 15.2, 17.2, and 3, clearly there is nowhere a woman will talk about any marginalization, because clearly it is said there that the governance of the country should be such that should prohibit marginalization in any form on the basis of sex, tribe, religion, geopolitical belonging, or whatever particular primordial consideration you have to. Therefore, it is a responsibility. It is responsibility on the government, on the political structure, to really carry all in board. These agitations for reforms, for this, those that are agitating it are misplacing the priority. For example, the 1963 Constitution, if we take it back, it is direct opposite of 1999 Constitution. In a situation whereby you have the states holding control of all the economic domain and then giving a little residue to support the federal architecture. The 1999 Constitution is an opposite of that. All the resources you have belong to the federation. All the whatever you have belong to the federal government. And you cannot solve the problems by mere advocacy through conferences, through meetings, and that is. If you have anything you are either in doubt of, or you want it to be changed, or you are not happy with it in the Constitution, you must channel it in tandem with the provision of Section 14, subsection 1, that talks about constitutional democracy, representation by the people. In other words, members of the National Assembly are there, members of the State Assembly are there for those problems dealing with the states. You have to pass it through the structures that are really enshrined in the Constitution. Sections 8 and 9 of the Constitution are the provisions you must respect in entrenching any change, in entrenching any reform, in entrenching anything. You cannot solve it by mere attacking. Therefore, I expect the second 2 years to see partnership in the real democratic form. Section 14.1 says that the sovereignty belongs to the people. Therefore, whoever has passion for the people, whether you are a civil society group, whether you are a governor, whether you are a legislator, whether you belong to women group, whether you belong to human rights group, you must partake and respect the provisions of sections 21, 23, and 24 of the Constitution and become a component of the engineering drive for service delivery for the government. You must put yourself to be part and parcel of the government. Little drops of water makes a mighty ocean. It is your little contribution, support, and cooperation with the policies and programs of the government that will take Nigeria to the promised land. Not big biker, not this thing. We expect to see a model we are seeing of the legislature and executive relationship. We expect to see that type of relationship replicated at the level of the federal and the state governments. You have a lot of policies and programs at the federal level, but without replication of the same at the state level. The president, for example, has to even use his power to bring about executive orders. For example, Section 7 of the Constitution clearly delineates local government as a third tier of government, but it has virtually been strangulated now by the state apparatus in such a way that the president even went about bringing about executive order to tickle them into this responsibility and the sensitivity of disjointing a third tier of governance, which is permeating a lot of issue of disillusionment at the local government level, issue of insecurity, issue of hunger, issue of unemployment, issue of so many things at the local government level, because there is a very big vacuum that emasculation of the local government system have brought about. The same thing with the issue of Section 221, talking about the autonomy of the state legislature, the independence of the state legislature, and the what do you call it? The judiciary. The judiciary. Unfortunately, look at the length of time the judiciary workers are on strike, pressing for the independence of their decision. Therefore, we must give respect to provisions of Section 230 to 304 that gives avalanche of powers on the judicature, on the aspect of the judiciary to determine these things. The independence, if it is not there, the independence, whether it's financial autonomy, whether it's operational, whether bureaucratic, whatever independence, if it is not there, they cannot exercise all the provisions given to them by the Constitution in Sections 230 to 304. Therefore, we expect to see people that are governing us at the state level entrenching themselves as stakeholders on the interests and aspirations of the citizenry. We need to see more of that. We don't want to see a situation whereby those fundamental things provided for the Constitution, you are in clear disregard of it, in clear violation of it. And then at the same time, another issue is that of this issue of Section 14.2.
Let me quickly exercise the provision given to me by the director
yes.
To take my next story. I'll still come back to this. The 6 years of President Muhammad Muhammadu Buhari's administration has continued, to lift the standard of living of the people, especially the poor and vulnerable, through its agricultural revolution, rural water supply, rural electrification, rural roads, and the social investment programs, as you rightly said. Ogachukwu Kaona in this package highlights the impact of these programs in some communities in Edo, Delta, and Ekiti states.
In agriculture, the Edo Agricultural Revolution, with efforts of the federal government and other stakeholders in the agricultural promotion policy, also known as the Green Alternative, has seen the empowerment of low and medium-scale farmers. This is through the periodic training of farmers, distribution of chemicals and seedlings, and provision of storage facilities to encourage mechanized farming.
Under President Muhammadu Buhari, Federal Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development have done so much for Edo states, especially in the area of rural infrastructure program, like rural road, rural water supply, and street lights. 2015 to date, the ministry has constructed and rehabilitated 40 roads, totally about 120 kilometers across the state.
Federal government some time ago introduced this growth enhancement support scheme, and the CBN too also introduced this NISA under the able leadership of Mr. President Muhammadu Buhari. So, and NISA has done very well to most of our farmers.
In Ondo State, the federal government increased youth participation in crop production and value addition, which has progressively improved the face of agriculture.
We are talking about rural production. Buhari administration is fantastic about that one. There's no doubt about that one. We should tell the truth. When we are talking about rural production, it's perfectly okay.
I have a farm of my own. I rear poultry beds. I sell cassava stems. We put ourselves together as a cooperative. We've assessed a lot of money, and we are making it.
I would like the government to improve on good roads, accessibility to the farm.
Same goes in Delta State with deliberate pursuit of food security.
It's the continuity of these programs that we have as a problem.
In the provision of water, the Uromi Ugboha Water Reticulation Project in Edo State in 2018 has made it possible for over 500,000 residents to have access to potable water in Edo Central and Edo North. There is also the intensive rehabilitation of moribund facilities of some dams in the areas.
Programs the federal government is working on at the moment through Benin Owina River Basin for the state. They are also working at Auchi at the moment, at the Auchi water scheme. They are working at Oto.
We started enjoying water in this community, started from 2017 to this time. And since then, we appreciate the effort of the federal government.
The Ogbese multi-purpose dam project in Ekiti State is also one way the federal government is providing sustainable access to potable water to maintain the integrity of freshwater ecosystem of the nation. But this project is yearning for urgent attention. In Ondo, the various water projects by the federal government in the last 6 years excites the people.
Right now, there's water everywhere. We praise the federal government, both the federal and the state governments. We so much appreciate them.
We enjoy this water seriously.
In roads infrastructure, although work is temporarily on a halt on the Okpila axis of the dualization of the Benin-Auchi-Okene Highway, about 30 kilometers from Auchi to Okpila have been fully dualized and asphalt laid.
Auchi to Okpila, it goes more, but Okene to Okpila to Okene is very bad. No roads.
The government they try. I know say the government don't they try, but may they put more efforts.
The Benin-Ore Road, awarded in 2014, is among the 25 strategic economic projects the federal government is funding with the 10 billion naira Sukuk fund. The road is in a good shape.
So at last people will spend 2 days for hold up. So but now we are enjoying the road, inshallah.
Now better than before. Yes. Now they're all right more than before.
Talking about the National Security Investment Programs initiated in 2016, the homegrown school feeding, N-Power, conditional cash transfer, trader money are testimonies. Thousands of unskilled youths in Edo, Delta, Ondo, and Ekiti are among the over 12 million beneficiaries in households in the last 5 years through the disbursement of loans, cash transfers, and grants. There has also been the COVID-19 survivor funds to boost SMEs.
There is a far-reaching impact the one in Ekiti is having currently on the economy of Ekiti State.
These initiatives, experts believe, have great multiplier effects along the value chain of the economy.
All right, this program is still Democracy on the Move, the second wing, concerning Nigerian Television Authority, where we give you the very best of news, reviews, previews, and interviews. I still have my guests here in the studio, the network studio, guests in the News 24 studio, as well as the Kano Network Center. Let's quickly go to Professor Tahir Maman, SEN, VC-based university. We've seen some of those reports. But last year, there was a bit of a rude shock in terms of a virus in killing mood, which affected the socio-economic well-being of most nations around the world and plummeted a lot of economies, to abysmal levels. How has the nation recovered to bring society back on an even keel? What are your comments at this time?
We, as always, we want to thank God for the minimal effect of the COVID pandemic on Nigeria. If you look at the figures of casualties and people who have suffered from this, it's far, far low compared to what has happened in the rest of the world, especially in Europe and America. And then secondly, one cannot also but commend the responses of the federal government in terms of being timely, in terms of the lockdowns, the timely lockdowns, which ensure that the virus was contained to a large extent in its spread and therefore its havoc. And then while that was going on, and soon after, we remember the government came in with varieties of support to especially the small-scale business people with access to various loans. Probably even some of them may even be grants, because if you see people having access to 200,000, 300,000, 500,000, it will appear to me that those would appear to be grants rather than loans. And believe in me, this thing has made a lot of difference out there. The introduction of FNACL too, which has been another vehicle through which people have been able to get some relief and support for soft loan, even big loan in some cases. That have been extremely of big relief. And so to that extent, yes, it has had effect like other places, but it has been contained in a very large measure.
We'll try and now go to Kano Network Center very shortly if Prof is still there. Yes, so let's join this conversation at this point. Ask you some questions. How did you perhaps circumvent some of the challenges from last year? You told us about some of the interventions your school made in perhaps airports and other things that the students were able to do and the school was able to do. What else? In that window, how were you able to get, everything back on an even keel? It's something that nobody really anticipated.
Well, thank you. We put all the necessary effort because we know that the expectation of the society is that some of these, measures need to come from apex institution. It's not only my university, but I believe many Nigerian universities have done a lot of issues in terms of how do we contribute toward fighting the COVID-19 pandemic, in terms of the oxygen, supply arrangement, in terms of the beddings, in terms of the infrared thermometers, and many have you. And virtually from all over the country, universities have really played an important role in supporting government toward fighting the COVID-19 pandemic. Right from the onset, many institutions like my own institution also engage in sensitization, education, because that has gone a long way in terms of bringing people to the fore that this is really a serious issue and everybody, all hands need to be on deck so that we can be able to really...
Yeah, Prof, can you hear me? I wanted you to look at the response of the academia in general, of which, of course, your school is also part of. Of course, we understand that it's also a good window for you to tell us a bit about what the school has been able to achieve. But in the academia in general, how has the response been? Have we floundered? Have we relied more on foreign intervention? Or have we tried to rise up to the occasion in providing technological solutions to some of these problems that emanated from the challenges posed by COVID-19?
The tertiary institutions, not only universities, polytechnics, colleges of education, have all contributed in fighting the COVID-19 pandemic. However, no country virtually will say that, for COVID-19, they were able to do everything alone. So the same way, but by and large, the contribution of the academia has been very remarkable. Remember, not only in terms of facilities, but even in terms of conducting research that will now provide answers to some of these COVID-19 issues have been handled by, tertiary institutions in Nigeria and in collaboration with their foreign partners. A lot of research inputs have really been played by Nigerians, and if you move into the areas of publications, you see a lot of great job done by Nigerian professionals, those in the teaching hospital and in other arenas, in engineering field and in IT, in sciences, in radiation, areas. A lot of contribution has been rendered by the academia. Certainly, there may be areas that we really probably need some support, which I believe maybe the private sector need to come in and patronize some of these technologies that have really been provided by universities, polytechnics, and other tiers of higher educational endeavors. Like I said, if you permit, Mr. Pisayo, for me to make a small comment, especially in dealing with area of agriculture, because of the temptation that being a professor of agricultural economics, I believe that I need to say a few things about this. And let me say that authoritatively, I can assure you, as among the pioneer professors in agri-economics in the northern western part of the country, the government of General Muhammadu Buhari in the area of agriculture has been doing remarkably well. And that has been part of my inaugural lecture that I presented. Particularly, you can imagine if Nigeria is not internally producing rice, and this has made the COVID-19 pandemic, the disaster, the anarchy would have been more. In other words, the tragedy that the entire country will plunge in would have been multiplied, and the disaster could have been really very, very much worrisome for the country to contain. I can assure you all the program that has been rendered by this administration in terms of Ankobora scheme, in terms of agricultural transformation agenda, in terms of economy recovery growth plan, have seen a lot of wonderful contribution. Crop production by 11% on annual basis, credit flow by 15% on annual basis, the issue of proliferations of fertilizer blending plants all over the country and manufacturing plants, the issue of rice processing mill that have, in Kano alone, this rice processing mill taking over close to 100,000 people that are being gainfully employed in these processing factories. So naturally, the Nigeria-Moroccan fertilizer agreement has been very, very remarkable one. The rejigging of the tractorization program, the proposal for 784 mechanization centers across the local government. These are remarkable programs that their impact will be felt in the near future. And I believe that all these issues that you are mentioning, even in terms of ranching, open grazing, no open grazing, is because we didn't take agriculture as an integration aspect for the nation. Those that are producing may not necessarily be those that are marketing, may not necessarily be those that are consuming. Government need to explore even the area of agriculture in terms of ensuring the national cohesion of the nation. And I believe if you take the economy growth plan, this is an area that value for agriculture is translating to over 21 trillion naira. This is a sector that no country in the world can decide to play with. And therefore believe that the government is on the right course in terms of moving its policies in agriculture. And very soon, I can assure you, Nigerians will smile for it, especially if continuity has been ensured in terms of increasing this flow of contribution to the nation. My recommendation will be there is need for additional infrastructure, both social and economic infrastructure in the area of agriculture to cover post-harvest, to cover marketing, to cover processing, to cover value addition, and to cover all actors. Federal government can utilize on 3 concepts and they can get the agriculture moving in Nigeria very fast. They should take the issue of consumer preference as a priority, and they should take the issue of market integration as a priority, and they should take the issue of value addition as a priority. We identify all the actors. The nation is full of potentials. All the regions can do a lot. We can pit the West and Central Africa region. We can do a lot. Right now, GDP contribution for agriculture is about 41%. The potential arable land is about 82 million hectares, of which only 34 are being cultivated. You still have about 58% that you can put into future utilization for the benefit of the country. I believe the key factor for sustainable development of our nation is in that direction. And the establishment of the infrastructure company by the administration of General Muhammadu Buhari will provide a rejigging issue in terms of making agriculture to continue to contribute on sustainable basis for our country, to ensure food security, to ensure peace, to ensure stability, to ensure gainful employment of all the youth that are now taking refuge in various forests of the nation. The forest reserve themselves can be utilized properly for agricultural purposes. And that will now give no opportunity for anybody to be within this environment to continue to cause havoc to the nation. So all hands must be on deck, and there is need for a proper room in terms of public-private partnership model that will develop agriculture of our country. And we also need to do the agribusiness model in such a way that we can be able to galvanize all these teeming youth that are roaming the street, to provide them with gainful employment, to provide them with income-generating opportunities, and to make them sustainable. And I believe once some key input has been put into this, that is the right way to go, and that is the right way to ensure that Nigeria witness peace, stability, for the prosperity for all of us. I believe that the programs are on course. Yes, there are areas of improvement that we need to do, like I've said, in the area of critical infrastructure, in the area of extension services.
I think you have made your point. Thank you so much for your intervention. I hope you have the handout available because after the program, we might try to reach you for the handout of that particular lecture that you have given me today. I thought it was only Mr. Nasara Kogo that had his own handout, but I just feel that I've just come out of a lecture room at the moment. Thank you very much for your interventions on the program. Thank you, and we thank you for being a part of the program today. Being a part of the program. All right, so you saw, he's so passionate about that sector, and we've made, unfortunately, of course, we had some of the challenges coming out. The flooding in Kebbi affected a lot in terms of the rice, sector. A lot of the harvest, just lost based on what happened. The huge flooding out, water cascading across that state. But notwithstanding, he's made a huge, a number of points as looking at the agri sector as you know, perhaps a gold mine has not been fully tapped, and perhaps the way forward in terms of the, you know, agitations for job creation, for youth engagement and all that. What are your comments on what Prof just said all the way from Kano?
Yes, I believe Kano model is a very good model that can be replicated in other states. And when you are talking about agriculture, really the historical foundation of the nation was based on agriculture. Now, how do we actualize the dream? We have to eliminate the greatest enemy to agricultural development, which is insecurity. Because with insecurity, you cannot even get to the farm. Most of these bush enclaves where these criminals are hiding, if these enclaves, for example, the Bednangwari down to Abuja to Kaduna Road, down to, is one bush that permeates down to Kebbi State, Katsina State, Zamfara State, Sokoto State. That one, together with the Falgore Forest, together with probably the Sambisa Forest, if these forests can clearly be eroded away, you can use other chemical components, or you can use equipments or whatever. Clear all the bushes. By the time you clear all the bushes, the criminals will have nowhere to hide. By the time they don't have anywhere to hide, you can invest seriously in mechanized commercial agriculture, creating agricultural industrial zones for those bushes, creating roads infrastructure, electricity infrastructure, set up fertilizer planting industries, gain employment for our team in youth so that they will be engaged, they will be fully bankrolled into agriculture, and then establish agricultural processing zones for export, which will enhance foreign earning for the government, which will, at the end of it, you will have a lot of deliverables. You will see the end of all these bandits hiding in the bush. You will see teaming our youth that we are having roaming the streets, gaining employment. You will see bumper production of agricultural output, as a result of which we fight #1 enemy, hunger. You will see gaining of foreign exchange by means of exporting this agricultural produce outside. And even the international community, especially India, Brazil, United States, China, these countries will be more enthusiastic to come into any partnership agreement with Nigeria. By the time they have the enabling environment of security in place, by the time you have all these lands, you can even invite them if you don't want to invest in infrastructural facilitation of this clearing of the bushes, establishment of industrial farms and the rest. They can come and invest with the understanding of what will be gaining. And at the end of it, diplomatically, we will establish robust relationship with them, and you will see immeasurable benefits we will be getting. But all these, we have to succeed in these with the cooperation of the respective state governors. Keep politics aside, state governors, face the interests of the citizenry, face the interests of the nation. That is your #1 preoccupation. The interests of the citizenry, the interests of the nation. Partake very well in ensuring security. The security votes that are given to you, and then you come and be complaining that you are not the chief security officers. If you are not the chief security officers, do not be taking the security votes. And if you are taking the security vote, utilize them adequately. The federal government should see to it that security votes are being utilized appropriately. It is not proper. For example, every divisional police offices we are having in the country, on the average, what they get per quarter is about 55,000 naira, which is highly inadequate. Increase our security architecture. 385,000 policemen are too inadequate for a population of 210 million Nigerians. Increase their number, get them sophisticated equipments, machines, and manpower, technological know-how, that they can be able to surpass whatever the criminals are having. So that at the end of it, we have a nation where peace, security is in tandem with Section 15, subsection 1, which is the motto of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, unity and fierce peace and progress, so that we will have united kind of governance, the federal, the state, and the local governments, all policies cascading towards service delivery for the interest of the common man, in the interest of democracy.
Before I come to Madam Enede, let's quickly take this report. The federal government under President Muhammadu Buhari has executed several projects in Sokoto, Kebbi, and Zamfara states in the last 6 years that have positively affected the people. Shehu Mohammed Dati has more.
The federal government under President Muhammadu Buhari initiated several projects that include roads rehabilitation and reconstruction, in agriculture, housing, and social sector, among others, in Sokoto, Kebbi, and Zamfara states to improve the socio-economic lives of the citizens. In Zamfara, a number of federal roads projects have been awarded, some of which have been completed, while others are at different stages of completion.
The special repairs, we have about 5. We have the special repairs of Talat Mafara to Sokoto State border. It was awarded in March 2020 and it's 100% completed. Then we have special repairs of Kauran Namoda Shinkafi to Sokoto State border too. That one too is 100% completed.
Contract for the rehabilitation of Sokoto-Jega Road was awarded in 2013, and Phase 1 has been substantially completed, while the contracting firm is presently on Phase 2, working in Kebbi State. Another project completed by the present administration was reinstatement of washout and completion of the rehabilitation of Sokoto-Ilela Road, including repairs of Osman Danfodio University Road, Sokoto. Contract for the rehabilitation of 29-kilometer Kajiji-Jabo Guraji Tekwacho Road in Sokoto State was also awarded at the cost of more than 5 billion naira and had commenced on 12th August 2019, and it is expected to be completed in August 2021. The contract for the construction of Sawambirnis Ululu Kuya Maradi Junction Road in Sokoto State was also awarded in 2018, and the work is still ongoing.
For quality job, we have laboratory and we have good hands supervising, making sure that good materials are being used, and the workmanship, they have good workmanship, because you may have good material, if you don't do the work well, it will still affect it.
The Sokoto-Jega-Yawuri-Kwantagora Road had been in a deplorable state for about 20 years, affecting the socio-economic activities of the people, from potholes, heavy traffic, frequent accidents, to broken down vehicles. The 300-kilometer road had, however, been rehabilitated by the Buhari administration.
We have successfully completed it, and the other section from Yauri to Kutangora is also done. So there is free movement.
Motorists flying the road express appreciation for the work done. The Anko Borrowers Program is an essential part of the President Buhari's drive for economic diversification, which has improved and transformed the nation's agricultural potentials.
The successes recorded in Anko Borrower, by far, even if the 14 billion naira is not paid, the success by far surpassed that amount of money.
Initially, when it was started, people took it as a joke, and they were thinking that Kebbi State Governor and indeed the people of Kebbi State who have demonstrated the willingness to champion it are just joking. And today, as you can all see, particularly during this COVID-19 lockdown in the world, even only because of the rice farmers of Nigeria, there wouldn't have been rice to eat during the lockdown. But as God will want it, our farmers have demonstrated that they can feed themselves and they can feed this nation.
The Anko Borrowers has led to the emergence of 4 international standard rice mills and numerous local rice mills in Kebbi State, and due to availability of paddy rice produced over the 3 planting seasons, creating wealth and job opportunities. In Zamfara, the Anko Borrowers program focused on rice and cotton production.
Production is actually going on. Cotton was farmed in the fields by Nigerian farmers. The bags you are seeing are from Nigerian cotton, not imported, produced by local companies.
So let the government continue to ban the importation of rice, since Nigeria can feed herself with rice, and even West Africa.
Other projects that got the attention of the federal government in Zamfara State include completion of the Federal Secretariat, which has reached an advanced stage of completion, and the National Housing Program are ready for allocation. In Sokoto, Shehu Muhammad Datti, NTA News.
Thank you, Shehu Mohammed Datti, for that report. Let's quickly go to the News 24 studio where Professor Tahir Maman, SAN, VC, Base University, is standing by. Prof, as we, wind down on your contributions on the program, what are your expectations and what would you like to see as we enter the second half?
Appropriate is for continued implementation of these programs. Clearly, so much has been achieved in the agricultural sector and some other infrastructural development initiatives of the government. So what is good is continuity of the policy, and obviously, for whatever happens after another 2 years of this government, we still need continuity of these policies because it has demonstrated that this country actually has the capacity and the will, to achieve what is needed to bring development to this country. This is very clear evidence, and so all that we need is continuity and the necessary goodwill to implement it. And for those who feel marginalized, this is clearly an opportunity for development to be all around the country, because all the reports shown so far has demonstrated that all these projects are all over the country. So instead of the elites fighting for positions and individual benefits in the system, we should all work towards what all that is needed is for us to work together to implement all these policies. And then at the end of the day, the generality of our people will be better off for it. Thank you.
Hope that many of the, your expectations and your prayers are answered, and also to Prof in Kano, he's dropped so many things and he's planted so many ideas in our minds. We hope to harvest them perhaps also in the next 2 years. Thank you for your contributions. Let's, come back to the studio, and we've been talking Greek for the past few moments. First from Professor in Kano, the VC of the Institute of Greek there, the School of Technology there, and then, of course, some of the reports coming in, especially from Kebbi. But looking at women in agriculture, what would be your comment on the gender policy of this administration in agriculture?
Yeah, we can't thank my big brother enough, Chief Audrog, the immediate past Minister of Agriculture and Social Development. With his deep passion in agriculture, practical agriculture, not subsistence, the one that is gender sensitive. Because of his background, he supported the production and the creation of he supported the gender department to the extent that the gender policy of all policies, ministry, that is MDA's policy so far, apart from the national gender policy, is the best of all the policies, to the extent that the director in charge of gender had gone out of this country to share with other more developed countries the content of our gender policy. That's why I told my brother here that I'll try and talk to the director in charge of gender so that the gender policy is given to them. I would love a situation where they make reference to the gender policy. Like I said, the content is such that in all the areas, especially the value chain, is so explicit because they have the implementation framework, they have targets, they have timeline, and they have indicators. It's not just an ordinary gender policy. So if we put that gender policy to proper use in Nigeria, it will not only put our women on the higher pedestal of engaging in the agriculture and development community development sector, it will be able to produce enough food. You know that part of the marginalization women suffer over time is that because of the premium placed on some of the crops that were traditionally women's crops, like groundnuts, ginger, beans, legumes, some special grains. Suddenly, some other actors, I don't want to be accusative, men particularly, because of their access to infrastructure, their access to positions of power, they just came and took it. Yes. And funds and farm implements, because they are also outgoing and they happen to have opportunity to get connected to the boys club. I'm not saying it in a derogatory manner. This is what people have. So they have access to power. So you find they're using power over women to get these crops, and they begin to export. And they relegated women to the background. So we need to pay attention to that. Traditional cultivators and those who even they are the ones who even engage in the value chain, as well as even the storage. So we will need to look at that, and there's an aspect too that is linked to that. He has mentioned insecurity and famine, because I saw a headline today, a front page, that as a result of what happens within the bandits and all that, women are not able to go to farm because of violence. That's why, I don't know what time we are going to have eventually. NTA in particular need to look at the implementation of the VAB Act. It took us 16 years before the VAB Act was passed in 2015. So it's 6 years now, and since the implementation, this is one of the areas that this government in particular has high-level impact. So I'd like to see how it's discussed, because when you link that with infrastructure too, there's also obligation on the side of government to bring in complementary infrastructure that will give us higher benefits. Because if you look at the VAB Act, if you look at this document that was passed by Act of Parliament in 2015, if you look at the heading, the intro there says there is a need for maximum protection of all citizens against violence. There's also the need for maximum remedies. There's also the need for punishment of offenders. So this book has 26 major acts of violence against persons, but the violence against women particularly is more. And because it's more, that's why we've been saying that the focus looks like you're only talking about violence against women. The pandemic in particular, between March and December, the statistics we have in terms of the acts of violence committed against men and women, sometimes women against men, but mostly men against women, it's huge. Imagine in Edo State, Braveheart Initiative alone had about 30 convictions facilitated, because it's not a Ministry of Justice. So if one organization, just one organization that doesn't have much funding, was able to secure facilitate 30 convictions, so you can imagine what has happened all over the country. So that's why a number of us are interested in seeing how this administration can upscale what they are doing so far, because I happen to be lucky to be supporting 10 government agencies, NAPTIP as the VAB administrator, as well as Ministry of Women Affairs, Human Rights. They are all government agencies with civil society supporting them. What can we do as we're talking about infrastructural development? If you don't have infrastructural development, as here, Section 38, you will not be able to meet the rights of victims. And if you are not able to meet the rights of victims, it means you are not doing well. So we want to see how we can have more sexual assault and referral centers. FCT currently has only one. Yobe has 5. Kaduna has 4. So why should FCT have only one? And the act has only been passed properly in 16 states. Why not the 36 states and FCT? Because anything that will protect your people, insulate them from violence, and give them peace, and increase their productivity, they will be happier. The bottled anger will not be there, and there will be unity. Because if you are happy, I'm happy, he's happy, all of us here are happy, the president will be happier. So this document is absolutely important. It's not enough. The good thing is that why I say there is a need for us to look at what we can discuss about it. Is that the presidency had made presentation at the United Nations, which was well applauded. The Governors Forum have come out to declare emergency. The National Assembly had declared emergency. The Northern Governor, different categories of people, the wives of governors under the umbrella of UNGWA GVB, that is Northern Governors Association Against Violence Against Women. They are doing extremely well. Many NGOs are doing so well, but where is the infrastructure? Where is the logistical support? How then can we upscale the political will to match the commitment we have done? So this is an area, because NTA to launch the program. I was here at the arena. Stand against rape and rapists. We have never had it in history before that institutions, faith-based organizations like the Catholic Church has a document, a policy against sexual harassment. They have a committee that is also trying, that is engaging with those who are traumatized. So we have opportunity of also looking at results from this area, because results from this area will affect everything we have discussed. The executive, the judiciary, how can we make the justice system better to be able to deliver on this? So I think it's a tool, it's a space, it's opportunity we have that we are not talking about. So I'm not spokesperson for government, but I feel that this is a major area of achievement. Like the Minister of Women Affairs has taken this upon herself. You know, people get angry sometimes, but it's a deep passion. Because the worst thing you can do to somebody is to invade the person's privacy. And this is what we have seen. So this would not only act as a deterrent. And there's a database. No country in the world has the kind of database Nigeria has. It's domiciled in NAPTIP. We need to look at that database, and we need to put information there. There's a space for sexual offenders, and there's a space for service providers. Other countries like America, they have a sexual offender register, but they don't have service providers register. And I'm glad that it was even a woman who is the designer, Dr. Amina Salihu. And it's donors that have been supporting, like Rolex, Spotlight, UNDP, UN Women, UNFPA. So why can't we fund our conviction? We have too much money in this country. And it's about data. And the data is not just data that is isolated. It's data that has to do with life, with trauma, with stability and all that. So I'm interested in seeing how we can communicate this result more. It's a huge achievement on the side of this government, but we can still do far better.
Let me stay with the Greek a little, and while we took this opportunity for some of these interventions, let's quickly talk to Engineer Kashim Ali MNI. Let's look at some aspects of the agri value chain, and a big part of it also will do with how good we are, how dexterous we are in these processes, these value chains that would bring, a lot of things to the pocket if we exploit properly. You still see many places where you still see foreign nationals perhaps dominating some of these value chains. How do we begin to promote, our own local technologies, our own people to invest in these areas and trust Nigerians to deliver, especially in that sector, talking about agriculture?
The agricultural value chain is such a long one, but the most effective component of it is the mechanization, and that's where engineering comes in. For instance, even the rice production today and all this, the successes we have recorded so far, most of them derive from manual labor. I mean, those who were born in the 50s and 60s appreciate this level of commitment of labor to agricultural processes. But today, the young people today cannot do that. So you can even, because I recall a panelist talked about the idea of taking these children who are causing havoc in the forest out from there. They can be useful when you mechanize the system. They could be trained to do basic things, including driving the tractor, owning their own lands and driving tractors on them. We have developed capacity in this country right now to build even tractors. Tractors can be produced in this country. There are I know of about 2 companies in Ondo that are manufacturing tractors in Nigeria. There's NCAM, an institution of government, an agency of the Ministry of Agriculture that is in Ilori, that is supposed to also doing a lot of research on modern ways of improving agriculture. But the truth is, we are not in an organized way utilizing the outcome of these researches and processes. That is where the problem is. We have isolated successes, islands of successes, very good. But for national development, you need to have everything well structured. You have to have a roadmap. There exists some of it. You have to get the roadmaps, get a document, see the sequences. If you start from here, where do you expect to be in the next 1 year, in 2 years, in 3 years, and so on and so forth. And along the line, people will measure your successes by those records that you have. They have to be milestones. That is the challenge you have. Now, that is where, again, engineering comes in. Because once you mechanize the process, you have the tractors. There are even machines for planting and harvesting and weeding and doing all these processes, including conversion, adding value to even the products right there on the farm before they are taken out. And some individuals or corporate bodies, like that is what you refer to, mainly foreigners, have acquired portions of land, usually in the hinterlands. They go there and they do this and process everything on their farm. Do you know that today, we were talking about open grazing and non-open grazing, in Oyo State, there's the WAPCO gets most of their milk concentrates from Oyo State right now. And why is this done? Initially, they had herdsmen that were all over the place in Oyo State. And at the point, they were having clashes with the farmers like they have in now. But in those times, things were not this bad. And the WAPCO, a group of people came under the auspices of NOTAP, another agency of government. They were able to bring them together and tell them the advantages of staying in one place, getting feeds for them, and then milking them and using them instead of bringing some from Netherlands. And it worked. It worked to the point that even though they didn't want them to take out of their cultural practices of carrying milk on their head to go and say, they provided pasteurizers for them. They had milk tanks that they started using. Instead of carrying it in bowls that are open or partially exposed, they now have, they put them in and go out to sell. Nobody talks about those things. You know, these are successes that are, they don't appear highly tangible, but they could serve as a best way of encouraging people to go into that kind of agriculture. I'm sure if you had expanded it all over the country today, this crisis we have with herdsmen and farmers and escalating to other things, it would not have happened. So first and foremost, for me as an engineer, I don't do things just because it sounds nice or it looks nice. I must first of all sit down and process it, document it, and set my goals. Then I start implementing. Where I have constraints, I change strategy. Where I don't have, then I keep running. So then whenever you have, it's a learning curve. You keep going. But so me, unfortunately, and I must say this because this is a country highly blessed with the best of human resources. Because if you look at, just watch any program internationally where Nigerians are involved. Is it as students that are going to universities abroad? Or most of them, first class is just common for them. They just get first class anyhow. Go to industry, they retain them. Look at even in ICT, look at what has happened. It's not a child of Nigeria who didn't even go anywhere that developed a software, or is it software, an app, that Apple bought for about $1 billion. And there are many more that are selling like that. So a lot of things we need to bring our resources together, structure our implementation. Because these ones who are doing now and we are recording successes, they are successes, no doubt, but we must harmonize them, structure them, so that when we achieve this, we know we have achieved it, and we have achieved it for life. There will be consistency. Not that tomorrow one policy government will come again and start another set of policies and jettison this one and do away with all the success stories that we have. We have had success stories before. Even this, when I talked about water, the water story started during the PTF. The road success in road sector started during the PTF. Because in the PTF, for once, international contractors were paid for what they did. They were not given extra bonuses. So that way they were doing roads, and they were forced to train people. People learned how to do these things. What happened after that? The people that were trained, that were ready to take up these jobs, were left alone. Nobody seems to care about our own internal capacity. And until we do that, we can't make progress. There's Naseni, and thank God President Buhari has taken a particular stand that is remarkable. He has accepted now to sit as statutory chairman of the board, and he's bringing in all the ministers who are responsible for, who are supposed to be members of the board of the Naseni to sit down. The law of Naseni says you must give 1% of the federation account to Naseni for science and technology. That's what Malaysia use. That's what Indonesia use. That's what South Korea use. All these countries use them. And they had either the president or prime minister as the chair, and they developed. This is why they moved from their third world status to first world, even though they are being humble. So we had those institutions. How much have we used them? So it's not really about, I like, the success, but they are in silos. I don't like that. For national development, you must integrate everything, and then we can now make progress in all sectors.
Well, how do we get a buy-in of Nigerians, even when you have some of these policies in there? We talk, for instance, he was talking about this, domestic competence in some of these sectors and having, a holistic approach to some of these things. But let's take, for instance, leather. A lot of hides and skin up north, and then we have leather works in the southeast. Brilliant young Nigerians making a lot of good shoes and all that, but they use more of synthetic leather that they import. We have leather here that goes elsewhere, somewhere up north. The linkages are not there. A Nigerian comes to you to sell Nigerian shoes to you, but he is wearing Italian shoes himself. So where do we get a full buy-in, even when government puts some of these policies in place? And then how do we get the Nigerian to, believe in himself and begin to have some confidence even in his own products, the products from his country? You have products that are actually Nigerian, but the labels are not Nigerian, just to be able to sell it to a Nigerian. He doesn't want to wear a Nigerian product. He wants to wear something from it's a Nigerian product, but to change the label to an Italian label. How do we get, the people to also buy into some of these concepts?
Yes, the people are not so much of the problem, because the enthusiasm towards nation building by our citizens is highly remarkable. If you take, for example, what people are entrenching, especially ABBA products, for example, they are world-class products. And clearly speaking, ordinary citizens are the ones investing in that. If you take another one, there are opportunities and programs government is deliberately working towards projection of our national values, exporting them outside in concert with Section 19 of the Constitution. For example, the deep sea ports, 3 of them this government has initiated. These are unprecedented projects that have never been in the drawing board in the history of the nation. That is one. Number 2, the economic processing zones. I enumerated them earlier on. Number 3, the issue of dry ports, which all these components are initiated by this government and entrenched by this government. By the time we have all these ones, and then by the time the governmental functionaries are educated regarding that the sovereignty belongs to the people, and that citizens are the primary cornerstones of their service, and that whosoever is going out of the country as a representative of the country, as an ambassador, as an envoy, a diplomat, or government functionary in whatever capacity, you should be educated regarding the responsibilities there. Number 1, you are there as a representative of the economic community of Nigeria. Number 2, you are there as a cultural ambassador of Nigeria. And number 3, you are there as social representation of the cosmopolitan Nigeria. And number 4, you are there to serve as the navigator of the Nigerians towards success of whatever they produce. But for you to do that one, the government should, as much as possible, bring in policies and programs that will, number 1, sensitize the citizenry for them to even appreciate that they have this obligation on the government, and to sensitize as well the governmental functionaries that there is these responsibilities on you. And for you to do that one, governmental policies must be designed to cascade from the top to the bottom. In other words, you have some 2 component institutions that should be tickled into really improved performance. You have Ministry of Intergovernmental Affairs. Ministry of Intergovernmental Affairs should be able to really calibrate and initiate policies and programs that will go from the federal to the state to the local government, that will go down to the common man, the commonness of the common man, and that should have the linkage of the input and output between the expectation of what the citizens want and the governmental policies and blueprints that are being on. And the office of the secretary to the federal government too is critical. There must be what we call inspectorate division, a division that should be able to coordinate policies and programs. Whatever the Federal Executive Council, whatever the Council of State wants to consider, the Office of the Secretary to Federal Government should be able to contact and get inputs from the state governments, from the traditional institutions, from the economic communities, the economic blocks, for example, chambers of commerce, industries, agriculture, and what have you. For example, the institutions of the prominent traditional rulers, the institution of prominent entrepreneurs that have been recognized globally. We have some of the richest and finest entrepreneurs all over the world acknowledged. You should be able to be engaging them from time to time, be getting their opinion, be scratching their mind to know what do they need. How can we exploit their linkages and connections, not only in bringing investments into Nigeria, but as well as exporting the good labor of our honest and sincere, credible citizens in the country that are of lower level than them. How can they carry them along in the interest of a collective brotherhood? So we have to think of it in that way. It requires totality of government reorientation. Like I said, the Office of the Secretary to the federal government. That is the reason why the name was changed in 1985. From Office of the Secretary to the federal government to Secretary to the Government of the Federation. Government of the Federation means under your office, you should have the stake of the state governors. You should have the stake of the ethnic minorities. You should have the stake of the local government. You should have the stake of whosoever is a component of Nigeria in the policy formulation and the policy execution and policy supervision of the government. You are the secretariat of the governmental policy articulation, policy entrenchment, policy implementation, and at the same time, the exhuming feedback from the citizenry to be able to tell the government, yes, the people we are serving are satisfied or they are not satisfied, with the view of making adjustments periodically, whether it's quarterly, whether it's annually. And that is the essence of national planning, and that is the essence of the representations we are having, the missions all over the world, for them to project the good values of Nigeria to serve as our genuine representatives, not just representatives of the government, representatives of our businessmen, representatives of our artisans, representatives of our exporters of customs, culture, costumes, and traditions, and representatives of our international educational exchange, and whatever we have. This is what the government should really consider and get it done as a matter of urgency, as a means of consolidation of democracy. You have entrenched a lot of policies and programs, Like I said, 10,000 achievements of the Buhari administration within these 2 years. I'm not talking of the other one of the 2015 to 2019. Within these 2 years, we have them. Time will not permit us, but try as much as possible to have a marriage of contract between the citizenry, the governors at the state and the local government, and the federal government. When you have this collectivism, then you will be able to see the nation appreciating your good values of leadership.
All right, that's quite succinctly put. Let's move on now. From Makadi, Shezi Gopep reports that Benue, Nasarawa, and Taraba states have also continued to enjoy immensely from several federal government intervention programs and projects under the present administration. This report highlights some of the projects carried out in the areas of road construction, rehabilitation and education, health, care delivery as well.
Over the years, traveling through the Makudi-Lafia road has been a bumpy and time-consuming experience due to the narrow and poor state of the route. This attracted the attention of the Buhari administration, which swung into action to repair and dualize the road to enable a more pleasurable and safe trip for its users. An intervention also enjoyed on the Makudi-Naka, Adoka, Ankpa road, as well as the rehabilitation of the Otukpa, Enugu Highway and the Boko-Katsina-Ala axis. A development stakeholders describe as heartwarming and gratifying to see the present administration fulfill its promises.
Before, they seem to have all been abandoned, but now things are happening. So we are very, very happy about those projects. And we would want the Buhari administration to complete these projects before the next elections.
Benue State has also been blessed with several federal government institutions to complement the few that have been in existence for the education needs of the people, like the Federal University of Health Sciences, Otukpo. This is apart from the Federal College of Education, APA, and the establishment of the Federal Polytechnic, Wanune, all of which were established within the last 6 years of the Buhari administration.
The Benue State has benefited a lot from Mr. President. So we are want to let Benue know that yes, what that man has done for this state alone is commendable.
And from Nasarawa State, Isa Mohammed reports that the federal government intervention in road construction stretched the length of the state from Kefi through Akwanga to Lafia and Makudi, as the existing road is being transformed into a dual carriageway to accommodate the ever-increasing traffic on these routes. The 49-kilometer Wamba-Bokos Road has also received attention. Another notable intervention in the effort to complete the 2.2-kilometer local Oweto Bridge, awarded since 2011. To date, the bridge has reached 90% completion, gulping over 16 billion naira. The bridge is to reduce travel time to about 50% from Abuja to the southeastern states like Enugu and Anambra.
It's become a major route now from moving yams from Benue to Nasarawa and to other parts of Nigeria.
Nasarawa State has a fair share of educational interventions with the establishment of the Federal University Lafia and the Federal Polytechnic Nasarawa, which have offered higher learning opportunities for citizens of the state and beyond. Taraba State in the last 1 year could be said to be a construction site due to several federal government infrastructural interventions in different parts of the state. In Jalingo, Adamu Haruna Adams tells us that in the southern part of the state, the 2-kilometer EB bridge is being constructed across River Benue, for which stakeholders commend the federal government and underscore its socio-economic advantages. Mararaban Donga Road construction, also in Taraba State, has been ongoing.
The government had brought a very, very historic project that you cannot measure.
Meanwhile, in Taraba North Senatorial District, Jalingo Konalo, Karim Lamido Federal Road is also being executed by the federal government. The project, which is in 3 phases, is now in the 2nd phase. Ecological projects, also by the federal government, within the year under review, saved communities in the state from the dangers of ecological challenges like flood and erosion. Interventions at the Federal Medical Center Jalingo towards curbing the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic and for the overall improvement of the healthcare sector in the state has also been witnessed. Beneficiaries of the various projects across these states have expressed the hope that these projects be completed within the life of this administration to avoid the risk of being abandoned in the future. In Makudi, Ashezigo Pep, NTA News.
Thank you very much for that report, Shezigo Kupep. Very comprehensive from 3 different states, Taraba, Nasarawa, and Benue states. Several projects, a number of projects there, but something, is recurring. Everybody wants those projects quickly completed within the life of this administration. That distrust is still there that, once a sometimes an administration initiates a project, works assiduously to try to complete the project. If for one reason or the other it's not completed, another administration comes in and completely abandons what's gotten to, appreciable levels. And that's what we've seen in the tone of some of the, respondents in that report. First of all, your comments on, projects from that axis, and then the aspect of course, the lifespan of some of these projects, especially putting into consideration the huge funds expended on, these projects.
You saw me laughing excitedly because I'm a beneficiary of some of these infrastructures. Before now, to go to my place in Benue, Zone C of Benue State, you have to go through Makurdi. But now, it takes you less than 3 hours to get to my village. Sometimes you like somebody, in one of the reports, somebody talked about it from Jigawa. Both of us were laughing. He talked about previously you find a Regia, that is well, yes, on the highway. So he was so excited. So I'm personally excited too. I know the only challenge on the Oweto Road is the security issue that all of us are trying hard to deal with. So I'm a beneficiary of all that has been said. And if you look at the gender component of it too, if there are roads for a woman who is pregnant, for a woman who has reached menopause like me, a woman who is in labor, for a woman who is in, because of the physiological makeup that you men don't have, the roads are good for us, for our health, for our efficiency, for our productivity. So I'm quite excited. And, because of mistrust over time and the way some politicians play politics with very serious governance issues that they shouldn't play with. My brother here had said, I said, look, Nigerians, the followers don't have much difficulty. They don't have much problem. The challenge basically is with the political elite. That's why sometimes when they say, I will do this for you, people begin to express fear. Whether it is the usual politics or their sincerity, they want to be able to see through it. So, and there is nowhere in the world generally that is very easy to start a project and finish it the way people want. For example, I'm told that it is during rainy season that those that like engineer will tell us, the engineers will tell that during rainy season that it's easier to do construction, it's less expensive, it's more secure. They give so many reasons, but the ordinary people might not know. So it still boils down to engaging the people. We have not seen sufficient engagement of the political elite with the people. So there will always be that misconception, and always with that, to the extent that you see that there's mistrust and it's causing disunity. And sometimes so you find that because the citizens are not involved, tracking, holding people accountable is not very easy. I saw one government infrastructure. It's also with private infrastructure. It's about us as a country. That the facilities that were removed, that facility was built by Julius Berger. And by the time they brought somebody talking about local infrastructure, we have the capacity to do the right thing. It's just refusal to do the right thing most of the time. The old facilities that were removed from that building were far better than the new one that were fixed, because within 2 months everything was giving way. So there's so much apprehension, but it's important to continuously, instead of getting angry with the people if they express fear or disbelief, rather than get angry with them, we have to concentrate on behavioral change communication. How do we engage? Well, you find sometimes aides of public office holders, they descend on people. Somebody had told me something before. He said, do you know that people are crying gender issues, that this administration, no woman has ever been victimized publicly or arrested for even talking against the presidency. So you see, our people were a talking people. We like to express ourselves about situations, even things that we shouldn't say. We think it's patriotism sometimes. I know there is a limit to the freedom of expression. However, we want to encourage public office holders to engage, to tell people, okay, look at your expectation, look at the reality. How do we have a common ground? If that is done, because Nigerian people are good people who even pay, celebrate their leaders when they do what is even just legitimate, even if it is minimum, they deliver to them. So all I will say here is that let us learn to engage, and we the citizens should also learn to be vigilant, because if we are not vigilant and we are asking political elite to just be giving us money, they may mistake that for something else. To say, okay, you have agreed, you are going to close your eyes to whatever we are doing. So it's absolutely important for us to have that space to engage. When we talk about constituency project, our leaders must visit their constituencies. It's not when anger erupts then you want to use security. At that point, it may not be easy to do it. So we should look at legitimately what is possible. If somebody says, okay, I'm coming to cite this project here, or we have cited the project, yes, the timeline is there. So one reason or the other could affect, like insecurity. If there's the need, if a project is costing you 2 million naira and you need to mobilize security for 10 million naira to protect the project, it means you may have to step back a little and wait to deal with that situation to be able to do it. So we must also face the reality of our time. If we want to be rigid in our expectation, yes, it's good to deliver projects at record time, but there are situations too that can make us not to be able to do that. And finally, I would like to talk about what the engineer talked about, the coordination. My state has so many good things. I have seen many states, all the states in Nigeria. No country is as endowed as Nigeria. That is why when people try to talk back about Nigeria, talk down about Nigeria, say evil things, yes, you may not agree with certain leaders, but that is not enough for you to talk against Nigeria, say Nigeria is not a country, Nigeria is this or that. So what can we do to make Nigeria better? He talks about synergy. How do we bring our crops from different places? I know Benue alone, the species of mangoes we have, they are more than 50. The oranges we have, they are more than 20. How do we now engage south, east, west, so that we can reduce the suspicion as well as the disunity we'll find now? It is possible for us to harmonize. I've been to Southern Kaduna, I've seen their species of ginger. It's unique. And the way God made it is that, look at tamba. It's called chai seed in English. I've seen a friend bought chai seed 2 pounds from London. And chai seed is just 350 naira per measure here. And it's organic, it's not packaged, it's not fortified in any way. So we have so much that we can use that others are envious about, but we are not deploying our energy to all this. So we should be able to, as a public office holder, a Chinese person is not likely to eat with spoon or cutlery. They use their chopsticks. So what stops us from using our traditional materials? Shoes. So it is not very easy for the younger people to emulate what the political elite are asking them to do. If you are wearing an Italian shoe and you're asking a younger person, go and what you are doing is very good, mass produce what you are having, who is he going to sell it to? Is it the one to wear? Because we work so much with perception. If a political elite wears his Italian shoe and you are wearing a shoe made in Nyanya, the likelihood is that the way you look at the person, it will diminish his personality and it will affect his self-esteem. And if his self-esteem is lost, the person is lost. So our political elite must learn to be patriotic in what they eat, what they wear, what they do, everything in their house. If you go to my house, the furniture there is Ankara, the seat there is made within here. But there are those who go and import, they import furniture, they import pots, basic things they import. So if you are doing that, because they say action speaks louder than voice, it will not be easy for people to hear what you are saying. If you are dressed like this, it's easier for you to tell somebody to be patriotic in your dressing. But if you are wearing something that is a designer from somewhere and they can put a cost to it, and this cost is depleting our Federal Reserve, our currency, it's a problem. So we must walk the talk.
All right, let's quickly move on to Ibadan Lagos. The rehabilitation, reconstruction and expansion of the Lagos-Ibadan dual carriageway is one of the major achievements of the current administration. Correspondent Shola Wahid, who toured some of the construction sites, reports that work is in progress and road users, including commuters, are appreciative of the federal government's efforts.
Prior to the present efforts at improving standard of the Lagos-Ibadan dual carriageway, traveling on this very important road in the country could be described as disturbing. Apart from the narrow space on the road then, potholes and damaged portions were common. This made traveling on the road very difficult for travelers. The present administration has, however, changed the narrative through the expansion of the road to 3 lanes on both directions. The Controller of Federal Ministry of Works, Ogun State, Umar Bakari, explained that construction work on the dual carriageway has reached appreciable stage, stressing that funds for the completion of the project work has been made available by the federal government. He added that 110 billion naira has been expended, with over 3,000 Nigerians employed directly or indirectly in line with the present administration's agenda for job creation.
So far, we have done about 105 kilometers of both bounds combined. The work is ongoing. There is no relentlessness from the part of the contractor. They are working with about 5 teams. We have the earthworks team, we have the concrete team, we have the asphalt team, we have the teams working on the curbs, on the chutes, and all the aspects of the work has been done simultaneously.
We're using a method that were not using before. If it's like polymers that we are using for strengthening the asphalt, and also our asphalt plant that is a brand new asphalt plant, and also with plans for modified bitumen polymers. So I can tell you that, like I believe that a lot of you see our quality of the work, that the work is good.
Commuters plying the road expressed satisfaction and commended the federal government for commitment on the road project.
Before, we used to use many hours from interchange to Ibadan, but now it's not up to 35 minutes for us. We that we are traveler, we thank God, we thank the federal government that are doing this road. It will be better far than before.
Government is trying its best. If you can see the kind of work that the government is doing, so it's actually doing well for the benefit of its citizens.
Because of our diversions in some cases, we sometimes experience traffic jams. But of course, the contractor has a traffic management team, and we're also working with road safety and the police, also with the state government traffic team, TRACE. So we are usually always able to dissolve the traffic.
Drivers are, however, cautioned to be careful where there are road diversions and avoid overspeeding on the road. Construction, expansion and rehabilitation of the road continue with the hope of completion by 22nd of May 2022. In Ibadan, Shola Wahid, NCA News.
All right, so on to Democracy on the Move, and we are on the home run now. My guest, Mr. Minara Kogo, you were about to make an intervention concerning the issue of uncompleted projects. Yes. Have been an albatross on some administrations in the past. Make a comment very quickly.
Not only in the past, even in the present. For example, take the Abuja to Lokoja Road. 22 years it is uncompleted. We need to really instill discipline in programs of work design and work completion. We can apply Umaru Musa model in my state, in Katsina State, when he was governor. He would not award any contract, and he's sure the money is there fully. Don't award any contract until you have the money to pay, so that you will block any possibility of variation of the price. Then secondly, don't allow any government employee or appointee or his cronies or by whatever affinity to have interest in any project. Make it a national priority, or no account should you have any project. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission and other investigating agencies should ensure that there is no interest of anybody in any contract. That is two. Number three, there are all these monies we are getting, for example, recovered loot, loans, and whatever coming from outside. The president can initiate an executive order in such a way that all this money should not come in liquid form. Sign agreement with whichever country you are repatriating the fund, design policies and programs that you want them to come and implement for us, and then set up an agency to supervise the implementation. Within 6 months periods, maximum 1 year, they should come and give us value of that particular money in terms of infrastructure and entrenchment on our land. That way we will be able to have railway lines linked to all the states in Nigeria. We will be able to have water supply running in the taps of every local government headquarters in Nigeria. We can dredge River Niger and Benue. We can have first-class hospital facilities in all the state capitals, so as to divest the interest of, say, people should be taken outside for medical attention. We will be able to have security apparatus fortified. We will be able to have industrial and commercial centers established, state-of fertilizer industry in all the state capitals in Nigeria in order to support agricultural production and lower the cost of production of agriculture for the ordinary farmers. These are the kind of policies we should evolve. Doing it that way, you'll discover that every project that is designed, if it's for 6 months, it will not pass the 6 months. You will see service delivery. But it is not all these things I said would not be possible until we are prepared to entrench fiscal discipline in the way we govern the country. There must be penalties for wrongdoings, and there should be evolution of appreciation for good doings. We should revive back the culture of giving national honors to those people that are patriotic enough to inject their credibility, their goodwill, their services, their selfless belief in Nigeria. We should be giving them national honor. There are people you don't need to give them appointments of money, but national honor to say the nation has appreciated what you are doing, it is very good. For the past 6 years, only one person is given national honor. He is alive, Ambassador Babugana Chingibi. The other two are dead, Ganifa Wemi and Abiola. There should be these type of things on every democracy day, so that other people should be appreciated from across the board. And there must be fiscal discipline. Anybody found failing on any contractual agreement signed by him for a particular period of whether it's 4 weeks or 6 weeks should be summarily disciplined. There should be sanction. We are running the country too loose without inflicting penalty for wrongdoing. We should revive that one.
I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Your comments there. Let's quickly go to the News 24 studio. Engineer Kashim Ali is there. You are a past president of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, a member of Korean as well. What are your final words on the program? What do you expect to see in the next 2 years, the second half of the second half?
Want a more organized system of executing public projects. For instance, if I take off from what Nasara said about the road, let him go back. Nigeria has about a network of about 200,000 kilometers of road. Out of that, 36,000 belongs to the federal government. And you look at all the stories we've gotten from all the parts of the country, we are talking about rehabilitation, reconstruction. There's no new road. The meaning is, and some of these contracts have been there for long, the meaning is that we have not paid attention to even maintenance of our roads. So we cannot even think of expanding our network. Now, if you continue along this trajectory, there will still be a problem. So in going forward within the next 2 years, I want to appeal to the government to develop road maps for all the critical sectors. Develop road maps that can be, if possible, taken to National Assembly and be adopted. It may not be a law or something, but at least let everybody know that this is a roadmap for road development. These are the roads we have on the burner, and this is the sequence in which they'll be done. So that no matter who is the head of state, which government comes in, you are able to use it to assess them. Take a roadmap for power, not for everything, so that we will not be going forward. Sometimes we take 10 steps forward and come back 5. And that really is not good for growth. So there has to be that consistency. So my appeal is, going forward, there should be some adjustments even in the cabinet, at the cabinet level, to put people. There are some people that maybe could do well in certain sectors that are not in those sectors. They could do some movement so that there is a more focused development and you can have roadmap. That's how countries grow, and that's how our own will grow.
Very much. We've had Engineer Kashim A. Ali, Chairman FCT Water Board and past President Nigerian Society of Engineers and Korean. Thank you very much for your interventions, and we hope that some of your interventions today will be brought on board, of course, for national development. Thank you very much.
I appreciate.
For our closing thoughts, what would you want to say? You've spoken about so many interventions, first from the, position of civil society and, of course, women.
Well, just realize that people are pain. There's so much pain. People are going through trauma. Generally, I want to see how democracy will be allowed to work for the people.
Short and precise, Minasara Kogo.
It is my dream that Nigeria's democracy should be a model for all the countries in the world to copy. And especially in the West African sub-region, Nigeria should entrench more in the dominance of sea regarding the happenings within our neighborhood. Thank you.
All right, for the past about 3 hours, we've been on this, the second part of our conversations on democracy on the move, the second wind, 6 years of the Buhari presidency. Of course, the first 4 years was predicated on the change agenda. Now we have the next level agenda. Many thanks to all our guests, even from the first part of the discussion with my colleague Ominiode. And then, of course, we've had Minazra Kogoma, who has been here for some time. Thank you very much for coming. Of course, NAD development program strategist, woman advocate, and so many titles in one, sharing our thoughts on the program. Thank you very much. And of course, earlier we had Professor Tairo Maman, SAN, SAN, that's the VC-based university, and former DG Nigerian Law School. And also we had the Vice Chancellor of the University of Technology in Kano also being part of our conversation. And of course, you for tarrying with us to fill the pause from across the nation on this auspicious occasion. My name is Fisai Ogunfuyi on behalf of the crew, thanking you for being a part of this special program and urging you to continue to be on the Nigerian Television Authority, Africa's finest and largest, where we give you the very best of news, reviews, previews, and interviews. Right after this, at 4:15, Sports World will come your way on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Bye-bye now.